Michael Patrick Shields is on the air.
Good morning, world.
Good morning, Michigan. A very pleasant Monday to you. It's the morning you can hear dawn breaking. What do I mean by that? Well, at first light this morning, Michigan's firearm deer hunting season begins. 700,000 hunters heading into the woods through November 30th. It's a tradition for generations of families here in the state. And what do the state officials do? They use this period to help control the deer population because an overabundance of Bambis can deplete the habitat and create hardships for farmers and increase the number of car deer accidents. So really, you gentlemen and ladies out there who are going to be looking for deer need to harvest 30% of the deer in southern Michigan in order to maintain the same population level. 30% of the Bambis have to go and meet their maker within the next 2 weeks. It's at first light this morning, so shortly we'll be going live to deer blinds across the state of Michigan, where the hunters will have to be whispering because they'll be waiting to shoot at first light. And we have lots of music and sound effects and all kinds of fun stuff for you this morning. There are new tools, too, to share up-to-date deer information during the firearm season. It's a deer website created in partnership with the Department of Fisheries and Wildlife at Michigan State University. It covers hunting regulations, deer research, and other topics, and you can find that at deer.fw.msu.edu. And they're going to have Twitter updates, too, on hunting conditions and so forth. And they're going to have people working in the field and at deer check stations providing tweets. And the hashtag for that is MIDeer2010. So hunting is going high-tech. And by the way, hunting keeps about 20,000 people in Michigan employed. It's big business. And some of those sales are helping hunters break the law, though. There's a law against deer baiting. And about $1 billion is going to be spent by hunters, and some of that will be in baiting, which is illegal. We're going to talk with Saul Anusis coming up shortly. He's the former head of the Michigan Republican Party. You know him because you've heard him on this program for years, and he has made his announcement. I think he did so by Twitter, too. He's a real high-tech sort of guy, that he wants to be the national chair of the GOP, the National Republican Party. Michael Steele has been in that spot for 2 years. Michael Steele has been on this program once or twice, but Saul Anusis has been on this program, 1,000 times. And he made his announcement on Twitter. He's going to challenge Steele for the Republican National Committee chairmanship. And we're going to hear about his strategy. And we're going to get the nuts and bolts on what happens next. How does the National Republican Party chair get elected? What does he have to offer? Saul Anusis coming up shortly with making national news. He's on Facebook, too, by the way. A 12-year-old girl's in critical condition because her uncle didn't stop for an oncoming freight train. You know what happened in Taylor, Michigan? The vehicle was stopped at the crossing gate, and he decided to just go around the gate because the train that he saw was stopped. What he didn't realize is there was a train coming from the other direction that he didn't see, and so the girl was thrown out of the vehicle. Believe it or not, the driver and it was her uncle and his brother. They weren't injured. So just be careful. Those gates go down for a reason. Also wanted to let you know that George Clooney was spotted in Grand Rapids over the weekend. What was he doing there, hanging out? Well, he took lunch in downtown Grand Rapids. He's scouting the possibility of a new movie, another one in Michigan, this time in West Michigan. The state's highest court might have to wait till at least January to make a landmark decision on state campaign finance law. That was a case prompted by Myers' illegal campaign acts in Acme Township. If the Michigan Supreme Court indeed holds off on a decision until 2011, the ruling is going to include votes by justices elected this month and supported by office with millions of dollars in untraceable campaign cash. The Traverse City Court ruling on the Meyer case for campaign finance. There's a big fight coming, too, over the Bush-era tax cuts. Lawmakers are back in Congress this week to wrap up unfinished business, and it's interesting because there are members of Congress who will be making decisions while the incoming members, the people who were elected that are going to completely change the makeup of Congress, are there for their boot camp. What is a boot camp? Well, it's when they get started, and they learn how it all works and where the bathroom is and where their office is and all that sort of thing. So we're going to reach out to Bill Heising, the Republican from West Michigan, who was elected just a couple of weeks ago, and he's in Washington there. trying to learn where everything is and get started. So you're going to watch lawmakers who are dead set on, say, reversing health care when they get in, looking at some of the lawmakers who are hell-bent on keeping it. It's an interesting transition there for sure. And the Bush-era tax cuts are going to be obviously debated. Democrats want to extend tax cuts for the middle class and let the tax cuts for the wealthiest Americans expire. Republicans say that move would endanger small business. Who are the wealthiest Americans? Those who make over $200,000 a year, or couples who make over $250,000 a year. So what do you make of that? 888-900-9966 is the number to call. 888-900-9966. Speaking of that, did you watch last night the 13th annual Kennedy Center Mark Twain Prize? That was on PBS. And they have taped this in early November. It was a 90-minute special, and it awarded Tina Fey the Kennedy Center Mark Twain Prize. And I'm pretty sure I saw Dick and Betsy DeVos in the audience for that, laughing at one of the Tina Fey jokes. It was kind of a little comedy show. They had other comedians there, too. Here's Tina Fey collecting her award yesterday.
And now, join me in welcoming the recipient of the 2010 Mark Twain Prize, Tina Fey.
I want to thank everyone involved with the Kennedy Center, or as it will soon be known, the Tea Party, Bowling Alley, and Rifle Range. I never thought I would even qualify for the Mark Twain Prize for American Humor. I mean, maybe the Nathaniel Hawthorne Prize for Judgmental Nature, or the Judy Blume Award for Awkward Puberty. And yet, I hope that, like Mark Twain, 100 years from now, people will see my work and think, wow, that is actually pretty racist. I want to thank Alec Baldwin for not coming tonight. And I already have a reputation as a liberal elite lunatic. I don't need that guy following me around. I'm not going to get emotional tonight because I am a stone-cold bitch. I know my mother and father are so proud of me tonight, so this is probably a good time to tell them I'm putting you both in a home. I would be a liar and an idiot if I didn't thank Sarah Palin for helping get me here tonight. My partial resemblance and her crazy voice are the two luckiest things that have ever happened to me. So thank you and good night.
That's Tina Fey, and congratulations to her. Bill Clinton says he's going to make an appearance in, is this for real? Hangover 2? The former president, Bill Clinton, has confided to People magazine he's going to make a cameo in the movie Hangover 2. He's going to play himself. And he shot his own scene in Bangkok, Thailand. Man, President Clinton must have had a big time in Bangkok, Thailand, I'm thinking. The first of the two-part Harry Potter film finale is going to have a big opening this week. What is it, Thursday? Was it Wednesday night or Thursday night? Midnight? Between Thursday and Friday, so Thanksgiving. A lot of people go to the movies on Thanksgiving, and so this is going to be the last Harry Potter film, but it's going to be broken into 2 segments. So we'll talk to Ron Van Timmeren, I guess, on maybe on Wednesday morning to talk about this Harry Potter picture. A Midwestern man from Fruitport, Michigan, met a bunch of members of the Aerosmith band. He got one of those second chance lottery tickets in Michigan, and Greg Mason is his name. From Fruitport. And we're going to reach out to Greg Mason from Fruitport because he got to hang around with Aerosmith. People actually win those second chance lottery tickets. He thought it was a joke, he said. And he kept saying, are you serious? And sure enough, he won a 3-day, 2-night trip to Cleveland, Ohio, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And he attended the Rock Hall's Ultimate Rock Star Party, and he hung around with Steven Tyler and Joey Kramer. So congratulations to him. See, good things can happen to you if you just invite yourself to the party. Get the second chance ticket. We never let the... Speaking of invite yourself to the party, this Wednesday night from 5 until 8 at the office of Dr. Christine Teneglia at Okemos Road and Bennett Road, we'll be launching my new book, Invite Yourself to the Party, with live music and champagne and hors d'oeuvres and lots of fun people you know. Lots of well-known people from around the state will be there, and we hope you will be there too. It's from 5 till 8, Wednesday night, no charge. It's our Invite Yourself to the Party book launch bash, and there'll be lots of well-known people, people that you hear on the program all the time, and we hope you'll stop by, too, after work for a little music and fun. That is the office of Dr. Christine Tenaglia, 5 till 8, Wednesday evening at Okemos and Bennett Roads. And if you want more information or to figure it out, go to inviteyourselftotheparty.com. And, of course, at MichiganTalkNetwork.com, we'll have the connection for you there, too. But that'll give you the skinny on where the party is. We never let the birthday of a beautiful woman pass without taking note. Shannon Shelton from the Detroit Free Press is celebrating her birthday today. We're going to call her later. She got married this weekend. She covers the Spartans for a long time and is going to be moving to Ohio and as soon as the football season's over. But she found her man and got married at the Tiger Club in downtown Detroit. I was very privileged to be invited. And Will Tiemann was there, too, from the Spartan Sports Network. It was a real bash at Tiger Stadium. No baseball, but a wedding was on. Saul Anuzis, the man who wants to be the next Republican Party chair for the United States of America and Republican Party all across the nation, will be with us as soon as we get back. What are his chances, too? We'll find out. It's 18 after the hour. It's Michael Patrick Shields.
Back in the wild again, and I felt right at home where I belong. I had that feeling coming over me again, just like it happened so many times before.
23 minutes after the hour, Michael Patrick Shields heard all across the state of Michigan. It's hunting season at First Light this morning. This morning you can hear dawn breaking, and there's plenty of sort of ancillary stories. One of them is that the incoming Senate Majority Leader Randy Richardville of Monroe introduced a bill on Friday. If it's passed, it would allow a child of any age to actively hunt with a bow or gun alongside an experienced mentor, someone with at least one previous hunting season under his belt and has to be 21 years old. So we'll talk with Randy Richardville about that a little bit later this morning. It's Michael Patrick Shields. Saul Anuzis has been waiting, and we want to get right to him this morning. He is the man who was the Michigan Republican Party chair and now wants to be the national GOP chair. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Kyle Malin is with us, too, from MERS News in our Gillespie Group storefront studio right here on Fox 47 and heard all across the state of Michigan. Good morning, Kyle, to you.
Hey, good morning, Michael Patrick.
Saul Anuzis, tell us first why you want to be the National Republican Party chair. It's something that you ran for before and a title that you had here in Michigan, but now you want to go nationwide again. Why do you feel you should do that now? And then we'll have the follow-up after that.
Well, look, I think there's some great opportunities for Republicans in the upcoming election. I think we just got a second chance, so to speak, by the American people to show what we stand for. And we have a huge responsibility, and we're also going to have a huge task as we move forward. 2012 is going to be the presidential year. My goal, and hopefully the goal of Republicans across the country, is going to be a chance to replace Barack Obama in the White House and pick up the United States Senate as we move forward to turning this country around. And I think I have a unique skill set that would help Republicans. I think the times and the opportunities and the circumstances have changed, and hopefully I'm the right guy at the right place at the right time, and 168 members of the National Committee will let us know that sometime in January.
What, they have an election for that post every 2 years? Is that how it works?
Yeah, every 2 years at our winter meeting following the election, we re-elect or elect a new chairman of the National Party.
Is it common that a chairman in the middle of a 4-year term would be, voted out of office?
Yeah, because basically, look, the circumstances change all the time. And so what happens is we do a review. We're kind of the board of directors of the National Party. We do a review of, where we are, what's happening, in which direction we're going to take this party, what is needed from a leadership standpoint, and we make a decision. And it is really very, kind of normal. This isn't about firing somebody. It's about hiring somebody. And we do that review every 2 years. And so once again, Michael Steele still has not made a decision whether or not he's going to run. So there is a chance that he decides he's not going to run. But all indications is that he's looking at running for re-election.
Have you talked to him since you made your announcement?
Not since I made the announcement, no.
Did you tell him beforehand you were going to do it?
I told him I was considering it.
I see. What was his reaction to that?
Nothing. I mean, it's, so was he. So it was, very straightforward. And look, Michael's been a friend of mine. I I was, last time when I ran, I mean, we both ran against each other. I was the only losing candidate who joined the transition team. I was the only losing candidate who came on the administration and worked with them for, the good of the party. I mean, I'm a party guy, and I will work with whoever the new chairman is. And I did so, and we built a good relationship. But he understands that this isn't about me. This isn't about Michael Steele. This is about what's in the best interest of the Republican Party.
Kyle Malin from MERS News. I'm curious. So, first of all, what do you think of Saul Anusis' chances? And two, what would it mean for Michigan if Saul Anusis from Michigan were the national party chair?
Well, I think that his chances are pretty good, considering Michael Steele's had a bumpy ride, if you will, in his first 2 years. I mean, you don't usually see Michigan Republican Party chair and lesbian nightclub in the same story, yet you did with Michael Steele. I don't know if Saul would have gotten into the race had Michael Steele hadn't had this bumpy ride. If he's the only legitimate challenger to emerge, and it's a one-on-one race, I guess anything's possible. We did have a great Republican year, though, this last go-around that Michael Steele can also trumpet. So he's got that working against him. If Saul Anusis were to be the Republican chair, I think there's a lot of chest pumping that we can do, and there's a lot of hooray. But, the focus of the national Republican Party chair is national. And so the focus has really got to be across the country. And while we could be proud of Saul, I don't know if it really means a heck of a lot to us in the long term.
Man, Saul, you remember those debates we used to have with you and Mark Brewer every week on the program for an hour? Can you imagine doing those at the national level with Howard Dean? That would be fun to see you take him on.
Oh, it'd be a lot of fun. Look, this is fun, but it's also very serious business. This is about the direction of our country. This is about where we should go as a people. And, when you're talking about national politics, it's a whole different ballgame. And yet at the same time, it's not very different because it's still we, the people, who elect our representatives across this country. And it's very important that people are involved. It's very important that people have a voice. And, I've been lucky enough the last 6 years to serve on the National Committee, and I think it's just a unique opportunity. And look, it's going to be an uphill battle. I'm running against an incumbent. I expect several other people to get in the race before it's done. But I do think that there is a consensus growing amongst the National Committee that there's a need for change. So I do believe that regardless of whether it is me or somebody else, we will have change at the committee, and this will be the debate for the next 6, 7, 8 weeks.
He gets an advantage, though, doesn't he, Kyle, because he's the first one in?
Well, that can be an advantage. That can be a disadvantage, too. I mean, if you're not able to get a lot of steam right out of the gate, then there might be support that trails off. They could go to another candidate. But to be the first one out there, you have the opportunity to clear the field if you have a base of support that you bring with you to the table.
Saul, Michael Steele has had a way of putting his foot in his mouth, hasn't he?
Well, he's had some problems, but, when you're somebody like a Michael Steele who, when he ran last time, he ran with the idea that, the party needed a national spokesperson, somebody who was instantaneously recognizable, somebody who had the skills of, he was a talking head on a lot of the national shows and was a prominent guy. And so when you're out there as much as he is, the odds are you are going to make a gaffe, and he's had his share, obviously.
Let me ask you both about something that I find rather ironic. This is in Politico. President Obama had a little sort of a scrum with some reporters, and he said, quote, "Campaigning is different than governing," end quote, as if that's some kind of thing that he discovered once he was sitting in the White House. Isn't that bizarre to hear that?
Brilliant. I don't know. Maybe that was taken out of a longer quote or something. I don't know, because it's hard for me to believe that it's taken him 2 years to make that differential.
Well, he's saying that the American people didn't vote for more gridlock when they voted for all these Republicans in the election, and he wants to remind them all that campaigning is different than governing. Saul, what do you make of that?
Well, I think he should listen to his own words. Again, this matches Barack Obama, whose rhetoric has very rarely matched his actions. He promised to basically be a kind of a mainstream president, appeal to both sides of the aisle, work with everybody, and be different in Washington. This was the hope and the change that he campaigned on. And when he got to Washington, he became one of the most partisan, radical liberal presidents we've ever had in our history. And he and Nancy Pelosi, for all practical purposes, shut the Republicans out, rammed through Obamacare and a series of other, packages. And these guys have not looked at governing differently. He's got lobbyists in the White House. They're doing secret meetings, and so they wouldn't have to file them. They went across the street and met at Starbucks. This is one of the least transparent governments we've had. I think it's one of the most radical we've ever had, and seriously, I think this is going to be one of the most important elections because the agenda is turning us more into a European-style government where, we're growing government, taxing us to death, getting the highest deficits we've ever had, and I think people are going to be ready for a change, and I hope to be part of that.
We're with Saul Anouzis, who used to be the Michigan Republican Party chair, now wants to be the National Republican Party chair, and Kyle Malin from MERS News. Want to get your reaction, both of you, to this. The Washington Post has been saying that they believe Obama should announce immediately he will not be a candidate for re-election in 2012. And the reason they say that is that they think that if he runs, we're going to have gridlock the next 2 years. But if he says, I'm not running again, he might be able to get something done. They say, we do not come to this conclusion lightly, but it's clear we believe that the president has largely lost the consent of the governed. The midterm elections were effectively a referendum on the Obama presidency. The best way for him to address both of our national challenges and serious threats to his credibility and stature is to make it clear that for the next 2 years, he will focus exclusively on the problems we face as Americans rather than the politics of the moment or a campaign.
Good luck on that.
Does that make any sense?
Well, I guess in a very highly theoretical sense, but I mean, let's get real. I mean, this guy didn't run for president just so he could run one term and then try and pacify Republicans for 2 years. I don't think that's going to happen at all. I mean, every Republican or any president in their first 2 years is going to have blowback in the next midterm election. We've seen that over and over again. It happened with Obama. I mean, he had a huge swing when he got into office. He's had a huge swing backwards. And he's just going to learn to work with some Republicans in the House. And if they do present the gridlock, he can use that as a campaign promise or a campaign rhetoric in 2014. See, I told you. These guys are just standing in the way. We got so much done in our first 2 years of office, and then these Republicans come to office, the party in no, and shut everything down. I don't see a lot of working with Barack Obama on behalf of the House Republicans.
Saul, in the last minute that we have, could Rick Snyder benefit from the same sort of altruistic logic to say, look, I'm going to stay 4 years and get things straightened out, and that's it, no politics?
Well, no, because I think Rick Snyder is actually approaching this in a very different manner. I mean, this guy is actually reaching out in a bipartisan manner. He's putting together a bipartisan team. His entire argument to the voters of Michigan that he was going to be a different type of governor, and at least in the beginning, what we're seeing right now, he's proving that to be the case. So if Rick Snyder continues to approach his style of governing in a manner that is kind of comfortable to the people of Michigan, there are going to be some very tough decisions that are going to have to be made. But at the same time, he's approaching this in a very kind of calm, normal sense. You don't see the rhetoric coming out that you've traditionally seen on either side. So I think this is going to be a unique political opportunity for us here in Michigan that we haven't seen in a very, very long time. I think this is a guy that maybe there's a possibility we're going to want to get rid of term limits after we have him up there.
When is the National Party chair election?
The election is the meeting is January 12th to the 15th. And normally the second or third day of that meeting we will have the election.
All right, thank you for the time this morning. I know every second counts when you're in a campaign like that. Saul Anouzis wants to be the National Party chair. Read more about it at mersnews.com, where Kyle Malin is the editor. Thanks for being with us this morning.
Hey, my pleasure.
The Lions. Are they dead in the water again? Sure looks that way. Ken Dallafor will tell us when we get back. It's Michael Patrick Shields. Thousands of hunters are heading into Michigan's woods right now. This is the morning you can hear dawn breaking because at first light, it's firearms deer season, and it's an economic boon for sporting goods stores, motels, restaurants, and all those businesses that cater to hunters. The state DNR says the white-tailed deer population is higher than desired, and that's in southern Michigan and too low in the upper peninsula, particularly on public lands. Baiting deer remains illegal in the lower peninsula, and there are efforts to wipe out bovine tuberculosis in the northeastern section, and they will operate fewer deer check-in stations because of budget cuts, according to the DNR. Let's talk football with Ken Dallafor. Sorry to keep you waiting so long this morning. Good morning to you.
Hey, good morning, Michael Patrick, and it was worth the wait. Interesting conversation.
Thank you. Ken Delafour played for the Lions, the Steelers, and the Chargers, and now Senior Vice President of Group Sales and Corporate Marketing at Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan. A weird game, I thought, yesterday at Orchard Park, New York, against the Buffalo Bills. It was kind of rainy, a little bit sort of a slow-motion game. 14-12, the Lions lose. What did you make of that performance?
Oh, my gosh. In the first 7 minutes, I think they had 6 penalties. That just stands out on everybody's mind. We had an inability to run the ball, and special teams, we continued to let field position be dictated to us by being able to tackle and make plays when we're covering kicks. And it was a weird weather day on top of it, which you typically get a lot of in Buffalo anyhow, so you never know what you're going to run into up there from a weather standpoint.
But the fact remains that the Lions lost yesterday to a winless team. That speaks volumes, doesn't it?
It does. I think Buffalo's been one of those teams all year where they haven't won a game, but they've been close, and the Lions' performance allowed them to get the first win. And it's frustrating because you think the Lions are right at the corner, but maybe the corner is out in front of them. They haven't turned it yet.
Well, here's the thing. Like Dallas with their new coach, and by the way, former Lions quarterback John Kitna, who passed for 3 touchdowns yesterday, they beat the Giants on the road, okay? So the Cowboys are revitalized. Their new coach, Jason Garrett, they fired Wade Phillips last week. So if the Cowboys can go in and beat the Giants on the road, can you imagine what's going to happen to the Lions at home down in Dallas next weekend? And beyond that, Tom Brady threw 3 touchdown passes yesterday and ran for a score. They demolished the Steelers on the road 39-26. What are they going to do when they come in here for Thanksgiving?
I know, Michael. If you look at the comparatives by scores and teams, but the NFL doesn't work that way, fortunately maybe, or maybe unfortunately. I think the Lions are in for a tough game. I think the Cowboys are refocused and rejuvenated. And Garrity is the interim head coach who has a lot to coach and play for. So it'll be interesting. Hopefully we won't be taking our nap early on Thanksgiving Day because of a lopsided score or anything. But they've got a tough road. The NFL is a tough thing, and the thing about it is you can lick your wounds or whatever, but guess what? There's another game next week, and you better be ready.
I don't know. I don't know what to think. It seems for a minute there, I saw some exciting things and Javid Best and all the rest and the defense and Ndamukong Suh, but ultimately you got to win football games, and it doesn't seem like there are many wins coming on the horizon. Even if they got, 5 wins, that's not likely, but let's say they did. I mean, is this year just another lost year? How long can we keep rebuilding?
I agree. I'm not sure of the answer to that question, but I'm pretty sure of the question. It feels like we're rebuilding again. I certainly had greater hopes, as probably everybody did. I sensed by the papers and some of the TV and so on the comments that frustrations are just off the chart. We're loyal Lions fans, and they should be. I don't know that there's a clear answer, Michael, but it feels like by record and by the way they're playing, we're rebuilding, and we're still looking for few key positions to get us around the corner or over the hump, whatever.
Are you starting to get the feeling that Jim Schwartz may be a sort of transitional coach?
Yeah, I heard that said before the season started, and I really wanted to believe the guy is more than that, and time will tell. But one could draw that conclusion, but I'm not quite there yet. I think he's put together a really credible staff.
If Bill Collar said today he's tired of TV and wants to get back in the action, would you take him?
That's a great question. I think.
What about John Gruden?
Bill would be a better pick in my mind.
Okay.
If we had to pick
Tony Dungy.
Tony Dungy today would be the day. The other two, I'd tell him to wait to the end of the season and hold them on contract.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry about the loss. We'll talk again soon. Thank you very much. By the way, everyone should know, if you come to my book launch party on Wednesday, it's at my wife, Dr. Christine Teneglia's office at Okemos and Bennett Road from 5 till 8. Ken Delafour is the guy who invented the title for the book, Invite Yourself to the Party. So he will be there, and he deserves a big pat on the back and probably royalties too, because when I was writing the book, I was struggling for what the title is, and Ken said, you know, you've really invited yourself to a lot of parties in your life, and you made things happen. And I said, there's the title. Invite yourself to the party. And he's featured in the book, too, with some business advice for you. So that is Wednesday from 5 till 8 at Okemos and Bennett Roads. It's a dental office, the office of Dr. Christine Teneglia, but it's going to be live music, champagne, hors d'oeuvres, fun, and new copies of my book. Signed if you like. Invite yourself to the party. We'll see you there, Ken.
Michael Patrick, I can't wait, and you're just such a great guy, and I can't wait to read the book and see what all you have to say, and it's going to be a great event.
Thank you very much, Ken Dallafor, saying, "Go Lions." Almost first light and the start of the rifle season, deer season in Michigan. It's the morning you can hear dawn breaking, and very shortly you'll be able to hear the sound of rifles all through the forests and glens and uplands of Michigan. Did you watch Sarah Palin's Alaska last night? It debuted on the Learning Channel. They showed.
I did not, sir. I was at deer camp.
Oh, that's Senator Jason Allen calling in this morning, an avid outdoorsman who missed Sarah Palin. She was fishing from a boat with her kids, and there were brown bears like within arm's reach in the water getting big fish. It was really something very interesting. Where do we find you this morning, Senator Allen?
I'm near a little town called Watton, or probably Sidnaw, and up in my deer blind, just got into camp, and I hope to get a big one today. It's a little snow, and it's about 33 degrees out.
Whereabouts are those towns?
That would be south of Baraga, Lance, and west of Marquette, about 60 miles.
Wow, you're way up and out there, aren't you?
It is, and so as I was working with Amanda on this, we're always a little hesitant on cell phone service because it is a bit special out here, sir.
Are you actually in position now for first light, or are you still at the lodge?
Yes, sir. Yep.
You
I'm in my deer blind, and I just got here about 10 minutes ago, and early shooting will start about 7:15 this morning.
Is that when it'll be? Okay, and so shouldn't you be whispering so the deer don't hear you?
Well, I haven't opened up the windows to my blind, and to take care of your listeners, I'm taking a bit of a risk this morning because you're a dear friend.
Thank you very much. That's very, very nice of you. Now, what is your record take? What is the biggest buck you've ever gotten?
It's pretty dismal right now because over the last few years we've had wolves move into this part of the western Upper Peninsula, and so what we used to see 5 or 7 years ago was much more prolific and larger. We do have on our trail cams a couple of large bucks. One's a large 8-point, and another one's running a large 9 with the way it looks on the cameras.
Have you seen a wolf out there?
2 years ago, my friend, who is the owner of the camp, had one come into his blind.
No kidding. What do you do when
a bit rattled him?
I'd say so. What do you do when a wolf comes into your blind? Shoot it, I guess.
I think you get the gun loaded, sir, and hope.
You need silver bullets, or any old bullet will do?
I believe that any old bullet will do well, sir.
There was some talk that there were Bigfoot sightings up there. You ever hear anything strange go bump in the night?
No, I haven't. I was over at the Covington Lutheran Church yesterday for service, and they didn't bring it up, so I assume we're probably pretty good this year.
Is it okay? Is your blind pretty fancy or very remedial?
It's remedial. We do have a small heater in here and windows and a beautiful view. We're up on a rock ledge that's probably about 50, 60 feet above the rest of the area. It's just breathtaking and part of the pure Michigan that we love.
So will you, when first light comes, as you suggest, about 7:15, will you very soon after start hearing the rifle shots?
Yes. We're up in an area that has traditionally been a large hunting area. It is really at 4128, and there will be a lot of men and women out in the woods enjoying the great Michigan outdoors.
Well, good hunting to you, sir. I know that maybe in the back of your mind somewhere you wish you were in Washington with these, they're having their orientation right now.
I saw that. Yeah, I certainly wish I could be there, but God has a plan, and you have to be patient.
He does, and you know what? If you breathe in that fresh air and you look at the beautiful morning and the fact that you have the freedom to do what you want right now and enjoy your life, that ain't bad either, right?
No, sir, it isn't.
Okay. Good hunting to you, my friend. State Senator Jason Allen, who's way up in the west of Northern Peninsula, waiting for the sun to come up. Mike, what is that? Is that a moose?
Deer call.
Oh, that's a deer call?
Yeah.
Okay. That's nice, huh? Mike McGarry is somewhere. He's a teacher in the Lansing area at Lansing Community College, but he's been hunting all weekend with his bow, and he's ready for first light. Where do we find you, Mr. McGarry?
Good morning, Michael. I'm in Jackson County this morning.
Jackson County is a part of the state where they say there is an abundance of deer, and they need the hunters to take 30% of the herd. You're willing to pitch in on that, aren't you?
I'm all in for that one.
Yeah. And what is? Are you in your blind right now too, getting ready?
I am 16 foot up in a ladder stand right now, overlooking a clear-cut field.
And you should be whispering too, shouldn't you? Or will the deer hear you? Are there tricks that you have to be upwind or downwind and all that? Don't wear cologne and that kind of stuff?
There is, but then I think at gun season you throw all those out the window because it's just like shaking a hornet's nest. All the deer come running out of the woods.
Oh, because the noises of the rifles and the fact that there's activity and all that?
The hunters are out here. I've been out here since Friday, and I've seen over two or three deer, and I've seen over probably 4 or 5 flashlights twinkling through the woods, which were vacant earlier all this weekend. So there's a lot more people out here than there were.
Well, good hunting to you. You're about 15 minutes away, and please let us know how you do, will you? Maybe you'll get one in the first half an hour. Who knows?
Sure thing. We don't know. I want to let you know, congratulations on being on TV for 1 year.
Thank you.
I want to say hi to Amanda.
That's her husband. Amanda's been shopping all weekend. Mike's been hunting. And who comes back with the bigger the prize? I don't know. We'll have to see. But that's how it goes in Michigan. It's an annual tradition. Deer season is only moments away. It's Michael Patrick Shields all across Michigan. Back right after the news. A very pleasant Monday to you, and it's very pleasant for thousands of hunters who are heading into Michigan's woods and fields. The firearm deer season gets underway in moments. The season runs from first light this morning through November 30th, and an economic boon for sporting goods stores and motels and restaurants and other businesses that cater to hunters.
Are you trying to get yourself in trouble with the law? This ain't rabbit hunting season.
It's not?
No, it's duck hunting season. That, sir, is an investigated fabrication. It's rabbit season. Duck season. Rabbit season. Duck season. Rabbit season. Duck season. Rabbit season. Rabbit season. Duck season. Rabbit season. I say it's duck season, and I say fire. Let's try that again.
Yeah, it's actually deer season starting today through November 30th, and the whitetail deer population higher than desired in southern Michigan and too low in the Upper Peninsula. And don't forget, baiting deer is illegal. We're going to talk with Senate Majority Leader Randy Richardville, the incoming Senate Majority Leader from Monroe, because he introduced a bill Friday that, if passed, would allow a child of any age to actively hunt with a bow or gun alongside an experienced mentor. He says that having a minimum age in the state is a barrier for parents who might think their 9-year-old is mature enough to go out and hunt. That's Dave Nyberg of the Michigan United Conservation Clubs, who helped draft the legislation. So we'll talk with Senator Richardville about what is the age limit now anyway, I wonder? Art Thibault probably knows. He's the former COO of Boyne USA. He's on the Michigan Travel Commission and somewhere in the Great White North this morning, ready to go. Good morning to you.
Good morning, MPS. It's a beautiful, pure Michigan hunting morning, don't you think?
And where do we find you this morning, sir?
Well, between Grayling and Alpena.
Uh-huh.
We're about 20 miles, I think, east of Grayling. Beautiful morning. Gee, I almost got a deer with a car coming in yesterday. You're right. There's a lot of deer.
That's part of the problem, as I understand it, and part of the reason we have a hunting season in Michigan, because while it might seem cruel to some people, they see a beautiful deer with the eyes and everything, and they say, someone's going to shoot that? Well, the fact of the matter is that the herd needs to be culled, as I understand it.
Well, And hunting is a tradition that you were talking about younger hunters. From age 9 to 13, I carried a BB gun and walked with my dad, sat in the woods, and learned about guns. But those who don't want to hunt, I have nothing against them as long as they don't try to keep me from having that privilege. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and car deer accidents, as you mentioned, is one of the reasons, especially in southern Michigan. There's they need 30% of the deer herd to be taken just to stay even, as I understand it.
Yeah, and you know what? There's a lot of places for that meat. We're going to take about 20 or 25 does, and Manna in Petoskey will get the meat through a registered butcher. So I feel really good about that. We have too many deer. When we cut our pulp out, none of the sprouts come up. I mean, 80 acres was completely raised by the deer. So it's amazing.
Yeah. Do you like the taste of venison?
Yes, I'm actually pretty good at it. Over the years, make sure you get all the tallow off, all the fat, and the steaks, the burger, and we make sausage. We do all kinds of stuff with it, Michael, and it's I eat it year-round.
According to what I'm seeing here, youths aged 10 and 11 years of age during the firearm season are limited to archery-only equipment.
Right.
And then what is it? After 11, then 12 and 13, yes, you can hunt with a rifle. Is that right?
Well, there's a youth hunt, as I understand it, as well, supervised, obviously, by an adult.
Let me see.
But I think if some youngsters would be more than capable of being safe and shooting, but obviously not alone. I think.
888-900-9966 is our number, 888-900-9966 if you want to ring in this morning, if you're on your way to the hunt or you're in position. I see now, as I look out the window here in the state capitol, on about the same level as Grand Rapids, let's say, it's starting to get light. Is it light where you are right now? And if so, have you heard any rifle shots yet?
No rifle shots. We're pretty particular about 7:25 to 7:30, but I've had 2 does pass me within the last 15 minutes at about 100 yards out. So the deer are moving this morning.
You have been known, as I recall, for having elaborate deer blinds. Can you describe the palace you're in this morning?
Well, it starts with a captain's chair on a swivel.
Yeah.
It's about 6 feet wide and 6 feet long and about 8 feet high. I've got a nice little gas stove.
Mm-hmm.
I've got my newspaper. I have the radio. And hopefully I'll pay attention to watch what's going on outside. You know, Michael, that just brought up a point. When you're in here thinking and reading and sitting, pure Michigan, you know, we're pushing for that 30 million. But what people don't realize is that the second homeowners, the people that come to Michigan to visit or people within Michigan that come to our area and buy a second home, there are thousands and thousands of jobs, maintenance and architects. And I think we don't even know how much tourism brings in. Deer season right alone is just beautiful for the state of Michigan.
That's what I understand. The numbers from and this is only about a 2-week period when you think about it, starting now through November 30th, and the amount of revenue that this it brings $1 billion, as I understand, to the state of Michigan.
Yeah, well, and there's about 6 camps in my area, and we employ 3 full-time folks year-round. And the club next to us has 20 people that work full and part-time year-round.
700,000 hunters in this period will make their way from, and they come from Ohio and Indiana and Illinois too, I would think, and especially maybe even from Wisconsin over through the Upper Peninsula.
Yes, a lot of the Michigan hunters have already been to Ohio or to Wisconsin for deer hunting, and they bring up their the people in those states that are friends of theirs. I see license plates, Michael, from every state in the union practically.
You may have heard earlier that we talked to Saul Anuzis, the former chair of the Michigan Republican Party. I know you know him. He's thinking, he's announced that he's going to run for national Republican Party chair. What do you think? Does he have a chance?
I don't see why not. I don't know the inner fightings on the national scene, obviously, but they have a pretty good spokesperson now. I mean, he's quite articulate. I don't know what the backroom infighting would be, but it wouldn't be bad for Michigan to have a voice.
An army, really, of 700,000 hunters over the next 2 weeks through the Upper Peninsula. And moments from now, I mean, have you heard any gunshots yet?
And I haven't. Again, it's only, 7:14, so 10 minutes from now, 5-10 minutes.
Okay, Art Tebow is there in the Gaylord area, and he is. You can listen to us on WJML and WJNL, those radio stations in Petoskey and Traverse City and everywhere in between. It's a tradition to talk to you. I will say to you, Art Tebow, good hunting.
Oh, my friend, and you know what? You're carrying on a tradition. I think I started with JP 30 years ago from the cabin.
Yeah, it's really fun to hear you right out there in the front lines. If you can say being on the front line with your newspaper and your heater and your captain swivel chair. You got flat screen TV in there?
I've already played sitting outside for about 20 years in the rain and the snow, so I think I paid my dues.
You deserve it, and thanks, too, for all those years with JP. It's a great tradition, and hunting is, after all, a tradition in the state of Michigan, pure Michigan, if we can say it that way. And he's Art Tebow. He was the COO of Boyne USA. He's on the Michigan Travel Commission. Gary Austin's going to bring us 2 minutes of news, and he's going to do it for us right now. Good morning.
Well, hi, MPS. Those listening to Michael Patrick Shields this morning on WJRW, our affiliate in the Grand Rapids area, as they motor around town. Boy, they've got to be loving this, because the big job is done. It started back in April, the I-196 repair project. This was huge. Yes, a number of bridges replaced, a new lane added on. Total cost, $40 million. And the project is done. How about that?
Terrific. All systems go.
A lot of work, you bet. You know, another big job, MPS, cleaning up all that oil that ended up in the Kalamazoo River as a result of the Enbridge oil spill. Crews on the job doing that, and they came across something quite unexpected over the weekend, a body of all things.
A body?
Yeah, police say it was a man. He had a gunshot wound in the chest, and an autopsy is going to be done today.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, we've got a sad story here, too. This one out of Flat Rock. You know, all the talk about how the state has to do more about dealing with issues involving bullying. This involves a 14-year-old girl, Samantha Kelly. Now, investigators think she killed herself after being taunted by classmates. Now, reports indicate this all started after she accused one of her classmates of rape. Now, as a result, police say charges against the suspect have been dropped because Kelly was the key witness in this case. Her funeral was yesterday. And he used to head up the state GOP. Then he was in the running to lead the National Republican Party, but lost out to Michael Steele. Since, Saul Anousis has gone out on his own with his own consulting outfit. But now he says he'd like to try to give the national GOP job another shot, announcing he would like to challenge Michael Steele in an attempt to win the job he narrowly lost earlier. And we got all the details earlier when Michael Steele talked about it with Michael Patrick Shields on the show right here this morning.
You can hear that podcast if you missed it at MichiganTalkNetwork.com. Saul Anousis, the former Michigan Republican Party chair, joined us very early this morning. It's MichiganTalkNetwork.com if you want to hear it again. 18 after the hour. Back in a flash.
There I was, back in the wild again. I feel right at home where I belong.
25 minutes after the hour, Michael Patrick Shields. You might be back in the wild listening on one of our radio stations all across the state of Michigan. Maybe you're in your deer blind right now in Petoskey or Traverse City. We're heard in Mount Pleasant and Hastings and Lansing, Saginaw too, Manistee, Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo, Ludington, and Muskegon, and they're hunting all across the state of Michigan. And Steve Yensich, who is here with us in our Gillespie Group storefront studio, the president and CEO of the Michigan Lodging and Tourism Association, is smiling because a lot of those people are using hotel rooms and restaurants, the hunters and all the rest, right?
Absolutely. Good morning, by the way.
Thank you.
A lot of hunters out in the field today, 686,000, I believe. So, and you know, from last year, they took in 444,000 deer were harvested. So a lot of economic activity comes from this, but certainly hotels, restaurants, taverns, of course.
Oh, sure.
Are all the benefactors.
Party stores, let's not forget them, too.
Yep.
And the people that clean all those hotels and work all those restaurants and establishments, as you say, are all gainfully employed because of our tourism industry, and this is a big part of it, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, I always get a kick out of going, you know, this is going to be the second year I missed deer camp, unfortunately. But when we go out and get our shopping goods, our groceries and whatnot, and you see all these guys in the hunter orange and the plaid suits and whatnot, and that red meat is just flying off the shelves. And there's not a lot of comparison shopping taking
There's no
place.
salads or
Just go in and
tofu
you
at
buy.
deer camp?
Not a whole lot. No, not much.
Where was your deer camp when you go?
Up Cedarville.
Cedarville.
Kind of halfway between Drummond Island and the bridge, otherwise known as the Deer Desert of the UP, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, you've not been lucky, huh?
I have 16 years ago dropped a buck. And
16 years ago? You're not helping very much.
Not very much. So,
Duran Martinez is with us on the phone from AM Outdoors. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Michael Patrick. How are you?
Are you in a blind this morning, too?
Oddly enough, I am not in a blind today.
You're working today, huh?
I'm going to be working my midday shift today, and, well, I had a little bit of a vehicle issue on Saturday, so it lays by the deer blind, and I am at home right now.
Okay, you didn't hit a deer, did you?
No. It was a transmission issue. I drive an old truck, and sometimes these things tend to go.
Well, that's what hunters drive, right? Old trucks. That's how it works, isn't it? Or am I being cliched?
That's what I've driven for the past 20 years, it seems.
The deer-car collisions, to be honest, though, is part of the reason why hunting season exists in Michigan. As I understand it, in the lower Michigan especially, if you hunters don't take, including you, Steve Yensich, if you do get out there, if you don't take 30% of the herd, that's what you have to do in order to keep the herd at level even?
It is a huge number, and that's, with 1 million deer in the state, that's a large number of deer. And I tell you, surprisingly enough, Kent County is probably the top-rated car deer accident county in the state, which even surprises me.
Oh, is that right?
As a matter of fact, Michael Patrick, there are more deer in the lower third of the lower peninsula than the rest of the state combined.
Isn't that amazing? You wouldn't think that with all the population down here and the activity in the big cities and everything that would be the case.
Well, it's all the agriculture, the cornfields, the bean fields, soybeans, and the like. Wonderful feed for the deer. So
that's
many
like
times I've wished I was hunting down here.
It's like a giant deer baiting system that's organic, right?
Exactly.
Illegal.
Yeah. Now, when they say that deer baiting is illegal, Duran, what do they mean?
That means placing out any supplemental food source, corn, carrots, sugar beets, any garden vegetables in a pile near an area where you can actually get a shot from your area.
We're going to talk with Randy Richardville, the incoming Senate Majority Leader, and he has introduced legislation that would improve hunter safety, and he wants to encourage more young people to hunt in the state of Michigan. So he's got this Mentoring Youth Hunting Safety Program that would give youth that are younger than 17 the opportunity to hunt alongside an adult. And what do you make of that idea?
Well, I tell you, I think it's really good because right now I'm taking my daughter through a similar process now because she's only 11, as where before you had to be 12, and kids as young as 10 now can go through the process without going through hunter safety. They can be mentored by a licensed adult. And with my time schedule, I've not been able to enroll her in hunter safety, so this is how I've been doing it, is taking her out in the woods and showing her the best I can, at the end of which I'll still take her to hunter safety.
So what are the rules right now? How old do you have to be to hunt with a rifle?
Shotgun rifle, I believe it is 12 still. It used to be 14, but it's since been changed. I think you have to have a licensed adult with you.
That's right. So you can't go out on your own at 14 or 12 with a rifle. You have to be 17 to do that. Is that right?
14 you can still.
Can you? That's a little
14,
confusing.
that was, when we were out, at 14 I was going out, and that hasn't changed. But,
oh, I see.
With so many changes going on right now, it's hard to keep up with all of them.
Yeah, the bill that Senator Richardville introduced would allow a child of any age to actively hunt with a bow or gun alongside an experienced mentor, and that's somebody who is at least 21 years old and has at least one previous hunting season behind them. So you could take your 9-year-old out if you wanted to and hunt rifle with them.
There are a lot of states out there, Michael Patrick, that kids of any age do get out with their parents, and it really starts the learning process early, and it really keeps retention numbers up.
Now, the actual, it's romantic, I guess, in a funny kind of way to say that hunting season starts at first light this morning, but the couple of people that I've talked to have almost pinpointed a time. Art Tebow talked about 7:25 to 7:35, and Jason Allen said the same thing. Is it a time that it starts, or like right now, if you were walking down Grand River and you saw a deer, it's light out now, is it bombs away?
Legal right now, there is an actual first light time. Not going out today. I didn't look at, the actual first light time. They have a sunrise time that you can go by.
All right. So it's going to be 25, 35, something in a few minutes anyway.
Well, I tell you what, the shooting's already begun. I can guarantee you that.
Is that right? Okay.
From reports, I mean, we have light now, so at actual first light, literally first light, it's game on, so to speak.
Okay, we will listen to you this weekend on AM Outdoors, and good hunting to you.
Thank you. Good luck to you. Stay safe and drive safe.
All the best to Duran Martinez. That's a very good point, too. Tom in DeWitt, you're in the air at 888-900-9966.
Yeah, Michael. I have a deer story. When I moved up here in the late 60s, I came from a big city in Indiana, and I was appalled at how many people were allowed to, hunt. Even school districts had it in their contract that was a day off. And I couldn't see how they could go out and shoot Bambi and his mother and father. And Arthur Healy even had in his book Wheels said don't buy a car during the deer hunting season because so many skilled workers were hunting. But 6 years ago I hit a deer, and I'll tell you it's cost me a lot of money for health reasons, and I'm all for hunting now. In fact, we should have another season.
Thank you very much, Tom. That's a good point. These collisions are violent. Steve Yensich, when you talk about hunters getting the time off to go to, the legislators are off for hunting season. That's how the state senators and state representatives, that's how important hunting season is. Unfortunately, they're not getting the Pure Michigan funding passed at the moment. What's the skinny?
Well, at this stage, we believe the will is there that we'll see that funding package voted on at some point during the remaining 2 days of session, 3 days of lame duck session. So, yeah, I think people have looked at the economic impact that this industry has had on the state. Incoming Governor-elect Rick Snyder, I think, correctly understands the potential that we have to generate economic activity and growth, and I think everyone wants to get off on the right foot.
Steve Yensich of the Michigan Lodging and Tourism Association is talking about the permanent funding. They don't call it permanent anymore. There's another a name for it, another euphemism, but it's funding for the Pure Michigan campaign so that every year you don't have to fight for it in the budget. It would be the same every year. How much would that amount be?
Well, right now we're looking at a short-term funding package of $25 million.
Okay.
When added to the existing $5.4 million, would give about $30
million.
And then I think next session we'll take on that issue of providing a consistent revenue stream of funding so that we're not in these fights each and every year without exception.
So this, whatever is voted on in the lame duck would just be for 1 year?
I suspect so, yes.
Okay, and then we'll take a look at the big picture after that.
Yes.
Okay, so it's a middle ground victory then. And do you think it will pass in lame duck?
We certainly are going to work the issue very diligently. There are probably between 8 and 12 bulletin boards or billboards going up around Lansing area so that when the legislators come back into town, they see a message that says, hey, legislature, fund Pure Michigan.
And then you can start educating all the new legislators all over again.
That's no small feat.
I would think so. Steve Yensich, Michigan Lodging and Tourism Association. It's Michael Patrick Shields with a bunch of stories that may surprise you. We're going to move quickly as soon as we get back. It's 35 after the hour on the day you can hear dawn breaking. Hunting season in Michigan begins at first light. Well, it's underway now. You should hear gunshots and the taking of deer across the state of Michigan because thousands of hunters are up there in the woods and fields and all through lower Michigan and upper peninsula and upper Michigan too. Deer season runs now through November 30th. The economic boon for sporting goods stores and motels and restaurants and all those businesses that cater to hunters. The whitetail deer population is higher than desired in southern Michigan. You hear about car deer accidents all the time. You might even see deer in your neighborhood, like I do. And in the upper peninsula, the whitetail deer population is too low, particularly on public lands. And so one thing you might want to know, too, if you're coming back, the DNR is going to operate fewer deer check-in stations because of budget cuts. And Randy Richardville will join us a little bit later of Monroe, the Senate Majority Leader. He introduced a bill Friday that would allow a child of any age to actively hunt with a bow or a gun as long as there's an experienced mentor, someone who has to be 21 years old and have some hunting experience by their side. So a 9-year-old, in theory, could have a rifle. That bill comes 2 years after Governor Granholm signed a law that lowered the previous minimum age from 14 to 12 for deer firearm season. So Randy Richardville will join us in about 30 minutes. You can join us anytime with your opinion on the matter at 888-900-9966. That's 888-900-9966. 700,000 hunters are in the woods through November 30th. It's a tradition in the state of Michigan, and the overabundance of deer can deplete habitat, create hardships for farmers, and again, increase the chances of deer accidents. And now the Michigan's using some new tools, too, to share up-to-date deer information during the firearm deer season. There's a website created with the Department of Fisheries and Wildlife at Michigan State University. It covers hunting regulations and deer research. It's deer.fw.msu.edu. And thank you very much. You can actually get Twitter updates from the DNR with hunting conditions and so forth. And the hashtag is MIDeer2010 if you're a high-tech deer hunter. And don't forget, deer baiting is illegal. Hunters are going to spend about $1 billion in Michigan during the hunting season. And so we thank you for that boost to the economy. Our film's a boost to the economy, still open to debate, but George Clooney was in Grand Rapids this weekend, took lunch downtown, and then checked out the area because he's got the possibility of a movie in West Michigan. George Clooney could be heading your way. The former head of the Michigan Republican Party, Saul Anusis, wants to become the chair of the national GOP. And we talked with him earlier. We'll talk with Dan Perot in just a couple of minutes, the arch-conservative who was the chief of staff for Governor Engler. He also ran the presidential campaign of Lamar Alexander and knows Saul very well. We'll get the chances from Dan Perot on Saul Anusis. We might talk to Dan Perot, too, about the big fight going on in Washington. It's very interesting because the 5 Congress people from the state of Michigan are getting ready to start, new members of Congress, and they are all there for their initiation and orientation, the boot camp, if you will. And while they are there, learning about, where their office is and how everything works and the ethics rules and all that sort of thing, the outgoing members of Congress are going to be there fighting about the Bush-era tax cuts. Now, they're going to expire at the end of the year, the tax cuts, and the Democrats think they want the middle class to retain the tax cuts, but the wealthiest Americans, those making over $200,000 a year, should expire. So they should have essentially a tax increase. And that's the debate. The Republicans say if you're going to have tax cuts, have them for everybody. And the Democrats say we can't really afford that. They're going to be talking, too, about don't ask, don't tell in the military. And also, small business and federal unemployment benefits and all those sorts of issues will surface in Washington over the next couple of days as they wrap up business. Tim Walberg, by the way, the congressman who is returning to Washington from the Jackson, Battle Creek, and West Lansing area, has said once again he's going to sleep on an air mattress in his office at the Capitol. That means he takes his meals at his desk, and in the morning he goes down to the House gym and takes a shower and all that stuff, and he'll be back on the air mattress instead of renting an apartment or a condo or anything like that in Washington, D.C. The officers say that employees of Enbridge found a body of a man in the Kalamazoo River Saturday morning when they were there checking out the conditions of the river after that oil spill this summer. And I-196 all fixed in the Grand Rapids area. Speed limits are going to go up to at least 65 miles an hour, even 70 in some spots. That $40 million project started in April. And an additional lane has been added, and bridges were replaced, and so it's all systems go for your commute in Grand Rapids. The Dow fell 91 points on Friday. The S&P was down 14, and the NASDAQ lost 37. Bill Clinton, former President Clinton, is going to appear in the movie Hangover 2. You think a president should be doing that? He's going to play himself, and they shot his scene in Bangkok, Thailand the other day. What a time Bill Clinton would have had in Bangkok, Thailand, I would think. But should a president be in a movie like The Hangover 2? Harry Potter, the first of the 2-part final movie, will be available this week on the big screen. Birthday of a Beautiful Woman, Shannon Shelton from the Free Press, who got married at the Tiger Club. We're going to try to call her this morning and see how... She's not on her honeymoon. She's going to Hawaii for the Maui Classic for her honeymoon, so we'll try to catch up with Shannon Shelton. The Tiger Club is where she had her wedding Saturday. Will Tiemann was there. I was there. It was a lot of fun. And now, will Solonuzas be the national party chair? Find out in 4 minutes. It's Michael Patrick Shields. 5:45 p.m. is the end of your action today if you're out looking for deer and so forth and so on. Yes, right. They're coming. They're everywhere, aren't they? If you're hunting for a vehicle, Cheryl Freeborough's Hyundai of Lansing has the 2008 Saturn Aura sedan sitting right out in front of our storefront studio here. I've been driving it, test driving it, and I tell you what, you don't fill the gas tank up very often. It's just over $11,000. It's 208. It's got 40,000 miles on it. You know, power everything and keyless entry and all that stuff. And she tells me it's 50% off. Brand new, it would be $2,200 and $500. You can get it for less than $1,000 at Cheryl Freeborough's Hyundai of Lansing. And, you know, if you buy it today, they'll come take it away from me. I'm test driving it at the moment, and it's yours. I would call that color, is that a taupe? Taupe? It's kind of a sand color, very classy looking Saturn vehicle. And Saturns, I'm told, are kind of in short supply now. They're collector's items because the Saturn Corporation has done away with the Saturn vehicles. The GM got rid of Saturn, but Cheryl Freeborough still services them, still has them, because a lot of people like them. Saturn was really coming on strong at the end there when GM decided to downsize. And we're going to find out about that General Motors IPO, the initial public offering, this week. You'll be able to buy General Motors stock again if you dare, should you dare. We've been discussing it. We'll have full coverage of that. And the Chrysler Corporation is apparently revamping a lot of their vehicles and a lot of their brands, too. And we'll have full details on that in the next couple of days, all this week. Tina Fey from Saturday Night Live yesterday. This was on PBS. They taped it earlier in the month, but it was the 13th annual Kennedy Center Mark Twain Prize. And it was on PBS stations. I'm pretty sure I saw Dick DeVos in the crowd there laughing at one of Tina Fey's jokes. It was Steve Martin was there, and Jimmy Fallon and lots of other comedians were on hand. And I'm pretty sure I saw Dick DeVos in the crowd. But Tina Fey gets this award, and yesterday stepped up to the podium to accept it and was typically edgy and funny at the same time. Here's what it sounded like.
And now, join me in welcoming the recipient of the 2010 Mark Twain Prize, Tina Fey.
I want to thank everyone involved with the Kennedy Center, or as it will soon be known, the Tea Party Bowling Alley and Rifle Range. I never thought I would even qualify for the Mark Twain Prize for American Humor. I mean, maybe the Nathaniel Hawthorne Prize for Judgmental Nature, or the Judy Blume Award for Awkward Puberty. And yet, I hope that, like Mark Twain, 100 years from now, people will see my work and think, wow, that is actually pretty racist. I want to thank Alec Baldwin for not coming tonight. And I already have a reputation as a liberal elite lunatic. I don't need that guy following me around. I'm not going to get emotional tonight because I am a stone-cold bitch. I know my mother and father are so proud of me tonight, so this is probably a good time to tell them I'm putting you both in a home. I would be a liar and an idiot if I didn't thank Sarah Palin for helping get me here tonight. My partial resemblance and her crazy voice are the two luckiest things that have ever happened to me. So thank you and good night.
That's Tina Fey at the Kennedy Center. Now, Art Tebow has sent a message. We talked with him earlier from the Michigan Travel Commission. He's in the Gaylord area hunting. He said a 4-point buck walked right by him, and the buck is saved because he decided to let him grow up for next year. That's what Art Tebow had to say about that. Let's see. Dave in Diamondale's been itching to ring in here at 888-900-9966. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Michael Patrick.
What's cooking?
I heard earlier you had Solonuzas on. He's running for the national chair for the Republican Party, I understand.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
And I just thought that a question that's really appropriate to ask any person running for that position was, what position do they see the Tea Party in that party? And I don't mean to back the boss. It just seems like the Republicans have kind of ignored them since they got elected, and they're patting themselves on the back. And I think the Tea Party had a lot to do with the tsunami that happened.
That's a very good question, Dave. And, we'll pose that not only to legislators in office now in Salanuzas, but also to the incoming freshmen who are in Washington today, 5 of them from the state of Michigan, new members of Congress, Bill Huizenga and Justin Amash, and Hanson Clark is there too, and Dr. Dan Banashek, and Tim Walberg, technically, although he's already been in Congress before, but they're all there for their freshman orientation, while members of the Congress are voting and talking right now about wrapping up the year's business. They're on the way out. The new freshmen are on their way in, and they don't have any say in it, so it's kind of interesting. Bill Huizenga will be with us, incoming freshman member of Congress in Washington, D.C., at the freshman orientation right after the news. Television viewers, thanks for being with us. Radio listeners, stay tuned for that. We'll see you tomorrow, and radio continues. Keep your dial right where it is. In Lansing, we're on 1240 a.m. It's Michael Patrick Shields.
Muchachas, they call me Big Papa. When I throw pesos their way, adios and via con Dios, a long way from GA.